Okay, let us pray. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this time, for this session. We want to thank you for the organizers, Holistic Learning Platform, and all the facilitators, the teachers, the students. We pray that you come and guide us as we discuss about the new curriculum and understand it well. Through Jesus Christ, our Lord, we pray.
Amen. Thank you so much, Mr. Rogers, for taking us through the prayer. My screen is there. It's already on, and this is the agenda we shall be following. We have already had an opening prayer. We shall have some simple introduction, and then after we shall dive deep into the new curriculum. Then people who may have some questions concerning the new curriculum, we shall give you the chance to ask your questions, and then at the end, we shall have a conclusion. We are going to be together throughout this week as we orient the Form 1s, the parents, and other teachers who still want to learn more. So that is briefly how we are going to move on. I want to thank all those people who have been able to join this call. Thank you so much for joining. I know we have many other friends of ours that are joining us, but they're just getting some little challenges, but they are going to be joining us. And good enough, we are going to be recording this session such that anyone who misses, you can listen in to the recording and then you can learn something. The new curriculum, I understand it's something very new. Some of you already have an idea, but we have still people who are blue about it. People who have not been able to interact with it. But now in this session, we are going to be unpacking and we are going to be learning together the different things we have in the new curriculum. In case you have any question during the presentation, note it down, and then at the end, we shall be able to ask our facilitator, and then she'll be able to respond accordingly. Allow me at this point to welcome teacher Maria Golet Javila to take us through her presentation on the new curriculum. Teacher Goretti, you are most welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Kaziba. Good afternoon, everyone. Allow me to share my screen.
Uganda today is the darling of the world, and many nations time for issues.
Kaziba, there seems to be some interference.
Okay, let me mute them. Let me first mute them just a minute. Okay. Okay, Teacher Javila, you can unmute and go on.
All right, thank you, Mr. Kaziba. I must say it's an honor. We are very many who have an idea on the curriculum, but having singled me out to share with the rest, I feel it's an honor. I know there are a number of people here on the call who also have very many ideas about it, so feel free to chip in where you feel I could have forgotten something. As I've been introduced, my name is Javira Marie Goretti. I'm a teacher of math and physics, but also a national facilitator of the new lower secondary curriculum. So you're welcome. I think I have only 1 hour for the presentation before we get to the questions. I'll try to keep within that, though I usually like having an interactive class, if I could say that. So once in a while, I'll be asking for at least 1 or 2 ideas from you. So we shall begin with this. We have, generally in life, we have 4 phases of change. Whenever we get change, there are 4 phases through which we go. When, for example, COVID came, we were first in denial. We thought it was far in China. Then it came, we resisted until finally we had to accept lockdown and etc. Now, the new curriculum, when it came, many of us were in denial. Probably some of us are still in denial, but I think most of the teachers are at least at level 3 acceptance, and some have already crossed over to commitment. So this is a question I want you to ask yourself. Where are you? Are you still in denial of the new curriculum? Because for sure it came to stay. This is a government policy that won't change, at least not tomorrow. So the earlier we accept, the better. So if you're in denial or resistance stage, I'm hoping that by the end of this session, you shall have crossed over at least to acceptance or commitment, which is the last one. So as we move on, think of where you are. Are you at denial? Are you at resistance? If you're already in commitment, well and good. So maybe the first question I would ask, how would you characterize the world we live in? Any one person? Mr. Kasba, you'll help me if there's anyone in the chat or if there are hands up. Just one word that would use to characterize the life. Mr. Kasba, could you help me with the hands?
Dola, you can unmute.
Yeah, one word I can say, the world is challenging.
Thank you, Dola. Then there's someone in the chat. Mr. Kasba, what is the chat saying?
The one in the chat was saying that she's not hearing you, but probably her mic is off, the audio.
Okay, so let me go with Mr. Dola, who has said the world is challenging. True, the world is challenging. But in a nutshell, we can say we are living in a VUCA world. And what do I mean by VUCA? The world is volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. Challenging could fall under any of those four. So it's very volatile. Every day we get new things. The latest that I could call volatile is the homosexuality issue that is rampant everywhere. Things are changing everywhere. It is uncertain. Some people are not sure whether the new curriculum will last long. It is complex and it is ambiguous. So that is the world we live in. Therefore, for us to manage to live in this VUCA world, what should we do? Should we remain in the old curriculum? Should we cross over? We shall see as we move on. The question is clear. What do we see in the picture? And then whoever can, maybe one or two people, could help us describe this citizen. This is someone we can easily see. In Luganda, I think they used to call them Nakalang, if I'm not mistaken, the ones with big heads. Those days, I'm not sure whether they existed, but at least we were told. What can you see then? Can someone describe this citizen in regards with the kind of education received? Any one person who can give us their view?
Feel free to raise up your hand. Just raise up your hand and then we shall give you the chance to explain what you are seeing or what you are observing on the screen.
Like I mentioned earlier, I love interactive classes. Just tell me what you see and what you think about it. And by the way, that is what the new curriculum is all about. We don't go to class and begin saying, dictate, I'm dictating, where did we stop? And we begin rapping. We need to know how much our learners know so that we add on to that. So when I keep insisting, please don't take it bad. Ah. Thank you, Collins. Mr. Kazba, could you help
Yes.
unmute Collins?
Yes. Yeah, Mr. Collins.
Yes.
I'm so glad that I'm also on this platform. What I'm seeing here, I'm seeing someone with a big head. So maybe this is the education I can categorize. It can be the knowledge based because of big head there. However, it doesn't balance with the hands. So which I can say in brief, it is like the knowledge does not maybe somewhere all over.
Okay, thank you very much. You are on point, Mr. Collins.
Okay, thank you. That's my idea.
Thank you very much. You are on point, like I said. We have this person. Okay, the representation here with a big head, it means the person has a lot of knowledge, but they cannot use it to do anything. So the hands are small and maybe they are not even empathetic because the heart has to do with empathy. I'm seeing someone else, Mr. Kaziva, help me with Mr. Simiyu.
Mr. Joseph, unmute.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to be part of this broadcast. And as far as what I can see, I'm seeing a citizen who is full of knowledge. It's like the head is about to explode, full of knowledge. And this person looks not to be skillful. His hands are folded and yeah, it's kind of, when you come back to education, it's like it's still in all the curriculum. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Simiyu. I'll skip the question 2 and move on. I'll ask it later. Then we have this other one. What are the dangers of a citizen whose hands are larger than the head, the heart? Mr. Simiyu, is your hand still up? You want to? Okay. The first two presenters have given us an idea. It is about knowledge, it's about skills. The hand represents the skills and the heart represents the empathy. So we could use that to participate. I'm seeing 25 people on the call, minus Mr. Kazman, myself. Okay, I have some very active students here. Mr. Collins, please go ahead.
Yes.
I think you're unmuted.
Thank you. What I'm seeing here, so the disadvantages or the dangers of being maybe as someone said, that the hands might represent the skills. So you can find out that the skills, he has a lot of skills, but maybe with not maybe equivalent knowledge or the necessary knowledge. So he might use the skills to produce something that is very qualitative or that is qualitative. However, you might not have the knowledge to use it or maybe produce something that is very productive. And that's what I have.
Brilliant answer. Any other person? Since I don't have much time, yes, like Mr. Collins has mentioned, this one has many skills. That is why you see the hands are big, the head is small. So he may have an idea, a few skills on how to do something, but the knowledge is lacking. So he's limited by the knowledge, much as he has the skills. And like I said, he may not be very productive. He may produce something basic, yet if he had knowledge, he would have combined it with the skills to produce something much better. Then we have another one. There we are. Our last example here. The person has a big heart, but the head and hands are tiny. What are the likely dangers? I wish I could get, yes, Dollar, Mr. Dollar.
Yeah, according to what I've seen, this guy might be having the interest, the desire to do certain things. But when you look at his knowledge or skills, is not really good. So he might really still suffer because he has no time for action.
So what could be the dangers?
He might remain stunted without any kind of action for some activities.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Mr. He has the will, he has the empathy. Yes, Collins?
Yes, thank you. To supplement on that, yes, you might have the desire to do something without the skill and the knowledge.
Okay, the desire is there, he's empathetic, but the skill and knowledge, zero or minimal. So he can't do anything much as he wants to. And I think we have many of those in our society. Anyway, let me not prompt. So in your view, how in your view is this citizen likely to conduct himself? First of all, what can we comment on that citizen? And then you can give us 1, 2 ways you feel he is likely to conduct him or herself. Yes, Dollar, it's unfortunate. I have the same people putting up the hand, but my time is limited. Yes, please.
Actually, I'm sorry to dominate also, but when I look at this guy here, the guy looks to be balanced in terms of attitude, in terms of skills, in terms of, knowledge. And this makes him happy and is most likely to do or to become productive.
Okay, productive. Thank you. Please, you can use the chat. I'm not seeing anyone using. If you're, yes, I'm having someone new. That's you. Mr. Rotmio.
Hello, madam.
Hello.
I think this citizen, or in this case, should I call them a learner, is able to do most of the things at an average setting or with an average result. And that may be a danger to himself because he may not have that motivation or that need to apply himself more to gain a better result, because he can do or he understands most of everything. He has the skills, he has the knowledge, but he can or may not go beyond what he has because he's happy.
Okay, thank you for your input. Yes, true. This one is balanced. He has the knowledge, he has the skills, he has the interest, the attitude, and everything. Maybe just to differ with you, Mr. Rotmio, this is the one, since he's balanced, he can utilize the knowledge acquired very well to apply in the skills he has. And then since his attitude is right, he has the interest, then we expect him to be more than just basic. Since he's balanced, he has the knowledge, he has the skills, he has the desire. That is why if you've noted, people usually, the speakers usually tell us that if you want to do something, especially maybe business, you need to have a passion for it. So we are taking this person or guy, as you call him, to have the passion, he has the knowledge and he has the skills. So we expect this one to go far. And this is the person we would love. This is the kind of citizen Uganda would love to have. But the next question is, which of the four do you think represents a Ugandan citizen? And do you think the education system, the old system, can address the challenges? We've looked at four, one with a lot of knowledge, the next one has skills, but no knowledge. Yes, Dacio? Dacio, please go ahead and unmute.
With what he has. Yes, I think basing on the previous curriculum, it would be the first one on the left, but I think slowly by slowly, we should be working towards the last one to the right.
Okay, thank you. Any other quick one? I saw someone in the chat who was commenting on the last one that he was balanced. Yes. Any other person? Okay. So like he has mentioned, majority of our graduates are the far left, a lot of knowledge. Very many people leave campus or institutions with lots of knowledge, but they can't apply, they have no skills. Someone is asked, what can you do? Anything. And even when they single out that anything, what can you do about this? Then I don't know, but I'm willing to learn. So we have majority, the ones on the left, a lot of knowledge. Then a few, of course, we have some technical schools or vocational institutes. We have a few who are at stage 2, like those who learn maybe from the garages, direct. Someone has the skills, but you feel that if they had the physics behind or the mechanical, they would even do much more than they are doing. So we have those two on the left, but would wish to move to the right. I think we have very few of number 3. Majority are number first, the far left, and the next one. Okay. So the question is for the parents on the call here, or the students, if you are students, which 5 qualities would you like to have? Or if you are a parent, which 5 qualities would you like your child to have in order to thrive in the circumstances we've just discussed? Like I've mentioned, if you're a student, you can give us a quality you think you'd love to have. Or if you're a parent, yes, Dola.
I have my son here. Let him tell us what he wishes to have. Yeah, good afternoon, madam.
Good afternoon to you.
My name is Benza Crispus Dola.
Yes.
And I think what qualities you should have like skills, interest, desire, and knowledge.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Dola Junior. Collins?
Among the qualities I can think of,
yes,
critical thinking, problem solving,
yes,
skills, yes, knowledge, yeah.
Okay, critical thinking, skills, problem solving. I think I had that one as well. Yes, Collins. Was that Collins?
Yes.
Okay. From my screen, as if you are muted. So I thought I wasn't sure you're the one. Okay. Thank you. Any other person? They've mentioned the skills, the knowledge, critical thinking. Don't, yes, Dola.
Oh, I see. Yeah, we need also to have resilience. Because at times we go through difficulties, so we need to have that resilience.
Thank you very much. Resilience. Don't any of us want to be honest or to have integrity? There is someone who has posted interpersonal skills. Thank you, Justin. Integrity, honesty, good communicators. Yes, there's another one in the chat. Computer skills, yes. This world, these days, these youngsters are even better than us in ICT. We can go with those. There are quite many, but we can go with those. So as parents, would love our children to have that resilience. The world is not easy. They have to keep there. We would love them to be honest. We would love them to be critical thinkers. We would love them to have integrity, to be honest, to be good communicators. And that is why the new curriculum was introduced. As we move along, we shall see why. I would have had more questions, but I'm trying to balance with the time I was given. So why the competency-based curriculum? We've agreed, or we've seen, that our old curriculum was simply pumping the head. Someone said it is almost bursting. And we've realized it isn't so good for us. So why the competency-based curriculum? Why the competency-based curriculum? From here, you can even see there's already a difference from the old one. The word competency brings in the difference. Competency, anyone who would want to tell us what they understand by that, you don't have to give the real definition. When you hear the word competency, what comes to your mind? Anyone? In layman's language. Yes, Dacio. Dacio, please go ahead. Dacio, the last call. Okay, I think he put up the hand by mistake. Okay, other people?
Oh, madam.
Yes.
I was trying to unmute, but it wasn't allowing me to.
Okay, now you've unmuted.
All right. I think competency can refer to a doable action that someone is or has say when someone has something they do that they give suitable results in it.
Thank you very much.
It's like a doable action.
Very good. What can someone do? I asked him to explain in his layman's language, and I think he has done it perfectly well. What can someone do? So the new curriculum is basically about what can the learners do. Of course, with the knowledge, we give them knowledge, then at the end of the day, what can they do with that knowledge? That is why it is competency-based. We want to know what the learner can do, not what they can remember. Our old curriculum was basing so much on what the learners can remember. So there's a lot of rote learning, there's a lot of cram work. So that is the justification of the curriculum change. Or that is why the new curriculum, the competency-based, came about to produce citizens with employable skills who are competitive in the job market. The market these days wants to know what you can do. You can go for an interview, all of you have the same, maybe first class, or you can have a first class, but you only have it in knowledge. When they ask you to put it in practice, maybe the computer skill, you can't do anything, but you have the first class there. I'm not saying it is bad to have first class, but let our knowledge be directly proportional to what we can use the knowledge for. So the reason the curriculum was introduced, or why it was brought about, or the reason they changed the old one, is to produce citizens with employable skills, which we've spoke about a few of them. ICT, communication skills, collaborative skills. There are so many 21st century skills, such that they are competitive in the job market. That is the main reason why we have the curriculum here. What can the learners do? Yes, please. Okay, someone, Farida, had posted competence, I think means having a skill. I can do to my best. Yes, the word, the basic word, the underlining word is doing. What can you do? And of course, to the best of your ability. When you do things to the best of your ability, you get the excellent results. Thank you. So competency-based education, it's the kind of education in which the learner acquires the following. We have 5, what you see there in brackets. Each letter is representing a few very important. They're only 5, but very, very important in the new curriculum. So we have the knowledge. We've been getting the knowledge in the old one. Even the new one needs the knowledge. And it impacts in the head. Remember our figures there? The knowledge makes the head swell, if I could say. So it's about facts, concepts, principles. Knowledge, we know what knowledge is. Then let us see, what does the U stand for? Understanding. How is what you've gained from the classroom, how have you understood it? How is it applicable in real life experience? Many a times for the teachers on the call, probably once in a while you'd go to class and the students would ask us, how does that help me in life? How will that will I use that knowledge in real life? So it means probably there's a gap in understanding how they're going to use that knowledge to apply it. And as we shall see later, the lower secondary curriculum came to demystify that, or to try and bridge the gap between the knowledge and the real life situation. So understanding, I get the knowledge, then I need to know how can I apply it in real life. Let us see what the S stands for. Those are skills, the hand. So the knowledge and understanding somehow both refer to the head in our picture. Then the skills, the hand. Of what good is it to know if you can't do it? In other words, why should I get knowledge that I can't use in real life? That is why, as we shall see later, a lot of changes were made in the curriculum. Some topics were removed, others were merged, those that were appearing in more than one subject, because they realize some knowledge, you simply get it, but you can't apply it. So skills, how can I use that knowledge to do something? Then values, that gets to the heart. How do we relate with self and others? There is no use of you having a lot of knowledge and skills when you can't relate well with your neighbors, or your friends, or your enemies, if I could say that. So as we go through this new curriculum, we also hope, or it was done in such a way that by the end of it all, someone gains values. They learn to live with others, because there's a lot of group work that is done in the new curriculum. And then finally, the attitudes. How do we perceive things? We hope that when you get that knowledge, whether it is in CRE or math or whichever, it changes your way of perceiving things. I said I'm for physics, but I usually tell the students I teach that physics is all around us. So if by the time they get that knowledge and look around them and really appreciate that true physics is really around us, then they change the attitude towards it. That is the aim of not only the subjects, but life generally. So KUSVA in short, the competency-based education or curriculum is emphasizing that. So you, as the teachers go to class, they try and see that whatever they're teaching at least brings out, if not all, at least 2 or 3 the objectives of that topic should touch on, if all the 5, that would be okay, but it may not be possible, but at least by the time the topic has been summarized or has ended, all the 5 should have been catered for. So it is like a spiral. KUSVA is like a spiral band of firewood. The 5 work together to bring out the best in someone. Unlike the old one, that was basically knowledge. A lot of it was knowledge. So this is our menu. I don't know whether any of us knows how many subjects we had in the old curriculum. The senior 4s are still in the old curriculum. But when I check my time, I think I might answer myself there or tell you. There were about 43 to 44 subjects in the old curriculum. And if we recall, in senior 1, we would do about 18. And then we drop, by the time we get to S4, we do that 10. So if you look at my screen, in senior 1 and 2, we have those, I could sorry, let me go back to the previous one. I could read through very fast. We have English, math, history and political education. Some subjects have got new names or they've modified the name a bit. We have geography, then we have the 3 sciences. Now, I think I should talk about the new subjects on the curriculum. That is physical education, entrepreneurship, Swahili. Those ones are new. And they are compulsory in senior 1 and 2. Remember, we are landlocked when it comes to the water, geography, but we're also landlocked when it comes to the language in the region. All our neighbors around us can speak Swahili, and unfortunately, Ugandans, there are few who can speak. So we are landlocked when it comes to Swahili, and the government thought after a very long while that Swahili may be important. Then something else to note here, we have general science. There are some people who are, may not be physically able to do the sciences, because sciences have the practical bit. There are people who may have physical disability, not allowing them to do those practical subjects or sciences. They have what we call general science. So instead of them doing the 3, then they do 1 general science that combines the 3. But otherwise, senior 1 and 2, those are the compulsory ones. They are 11. Then we have the electives, agriculture, ICT, the languages, both foreign and local. We have art and design, performing arts, technology, all those that you're seeing under electives. Now, some people have been, when they had just rolled it out, many people are saying, why isn't agriculture compulsory? Why isn't ICT compulsory? But I want to believe that the developers they considered all that. One thing I know about agriculture, it wasn't made compulsory because there are some schools that simply have buildings. They have no space at all to do agriculture. So that was just one of the reasons. So depending on where the students go, by the way, I forgot to congratulate the people whose results just came back. But wherever you go to your school, it will depend on what your school will choose. But for example, even if you love agriculture, if you're in an urban-based school that has no space for agriculture, they may not be allowed to take on that elective. So you have the 11 compulsory and then 1 elective. So you choose only 1 of these. You may not be the one choosing, you may be, that school may choose for you. But there are those schools that may have different streams that offer maybe 4 different electives. So you may be put in a stream that elective appears. It depends, but the compulsory ones are 11, and then you are supposed to pick only 1 more. Now, when we go to senior 3 and 4, the compulsory ones come down to 7, and that is English, math, history, geography, physics, biology, chemistry for the main, and then the other ones would have general science. So those are the 7 compulsory ones. And then you're free to add on either 1 or 2. So at the end of it all, you'll have 9. Now, I think a few months back, they passed Swahili. Swahili is supposed to cut across up to senior 4, but we are waiting upon the government to confirm that, or the ministry to confirm that. So if Swahili is confirmed, that means someone would have 8 compulsory ones, and then they add 2 electives. And if you notice here, we have what we call the pre-vocational or the practical ones, the entrepreneurship, art and design, agriculture, etc. I may not mention all of them. Now, I think later in the week, someone will come and tell you more about it. I could just hint on it that by senior 3, if the child so wishes, or if the parent so wishes, maybe I should say the child, they can get a certificate in any of those pre-vocational subjects. The other person will give more highlights, but that is one of the advantages of the new curriculum. By the time someone leaves senior 3, at least they can have a certificate to do something, maybe to bake cake, etc. We shall look at that. Someone will handle that along during the week. Maybe something else I should say, the curriculum is looking at, even if someone just attends 1 term, senior 1, by the end of that term, they should have some skill they've acquired and they can apply. If they're unfortunate and they can't continue with education, at least even if it's after 1 term, they should be able to apply some of those skills in those topics. That is how good if we, the teachers, deliver it the way it's supposed to be delivered, then those are the graduates we expect. Then, of course, we have the languages and that. So senior 1 and 2, 11 compulsory, 1 elective. When we get to senior 3 and 4, 7 compulsory, 2 electives, until Swahili is pronounced or confirmed. Then we shall have 8 compulsory, 2 electives. Now, there are some key pillars, just that like any strong, maybe I could say any strong building should have pillars to keep it there. So the new curriculum also has pillars. I'll take you through very quickly. We have what we call key learning outcomes. They sum up the expectations of the curriculum as a whole. So at the end of the day, the curriculum hopes that we shall get self-assured individuals who are responsible and patriotic, lifelong learners. They can keep discovering on their own. We shall briefly see the methods we use in this. Who are positive contributors to society. It is not limited to this, but these are just a few of the key learning outcomes. So as the teachers know what to do, that as we go to class, we try and see that as we teach, we bring out, or we help bring out some of these, the self-assured individuals. The students are put in groups, we get leaders, each table that keep changing, maybe weekly, or it depends on the school. We have a secretary who takes down what they've discussed, and they keep rotating so that everyone has a chance of presenting. So we are expected to get confident, self-assured individuals. So those are some of the key learning outcomes. I've just listed a few. Then we have the second pillar are values. Like I said, it's no use having all the knowledge and skills when you can't live with your neighbors. So we expect that as the teachers go to class try to see that you bring out this: peace and harmony, integrity and honesty, patriotism. This is something very serious. I think recently our head teachers had a training on that, so you can see how serious it is. Positive attitude towards work and self-control. These are just a few. We expect the learners to be good listeners. As they are discussing in their groups, they should be able to listen to their friends and live in peace and harmony. How can you be in a group of 10 and for you don't work with them? So the new curriculum is trying to see that they also get values. Then we have what we call generic skills. Now, these are the 21st century skills that we mentioned. We mentioned a few. The ICT, being ICT, okay, knowing ICT. We talked of good communication, collaboration. There are quite many. Now, maybe I can mention it here in case I forget. On our report cards, this is one thing that is captured, generic skills. It is, you will see the scores. I'll talk about those towards the end, but this is something else that is captured. They can say maybe Alan is a good listener, listens with comprehension and discusses well with friends, or is has creativity and innovation in doing his things. So generic skills is part of what we should expect to see on the students' report cards. The values may not be captured, the key learning outcomes may not be captured, but these generic skills, cooperative or cooperation and learning, calculation and ICT, I just mentioned a few here, but there are quite many. So those are the 21st century skills that every employee would love to see in their employer. So as we go to teach, we try to bring out these, or we may not go to and say today I'm teaching critical thinking, but as the teachers, they've been trained that as they prepare those activities, they should be able to bring out this in the students. Then the last pillar, there are 4. The last pillar is cross-cutting issues. Now these are like the word cross-cutting, they cut across all the subjects. Or we can say they are the ones, there are global challenges. We have the environmental challenges. We have the socioeconomic challenges. We have citizenship. We have health awareness. Now these cut across. Someone might say health awareness is more in biology. But does that mean that if someone doesn't study biology, they don't need it? So it is something that cuts across. Still, we as teachers, as we go, we've been trained to see how we can, for example, entering class and it is dirty. You can't continue teaching in a dirty class. The students need to know that we need to study in a clean environment. So those are some of the things that teachers do to bring out this cross-cutting issue. So these ones cut across all the subjects. Okay, life skills as well. So how learning takes place in the CBC competency-based curriculum. So it is activity-based, like I mentioned earlier, as we teachers are planning the activities. So it is not like we used to do in the past. You go to class, where did we stop? Then you start afresh. First of all, the sitting arrangement has changed. They sit in circles in most schools. I hope even where your children go, that will be, okay, that is the recommended in circles. Which groups should be changed at least every 2 weeks or twice a term if it is too much. So the students are given activities so that they discover by themselves. Could be 10 minutes, they discuss among, that's why I said they need a secretary. And students who are here, you should learn to journal, learn the journaling skill. Journaling means down. So even now, as I'm speaking, I'm hoping, okay, there's a question. Techno. Techno, please unmute. So I don't have much time. Unmute.
I was asking, is Swahili option?
Okay, you're breaking, but I think I've picked your question. Swahili, as I've mentioned, Senior 1 and 2 Swahili is compulsory. And recently, I think Cabinet also passed it to be compulsory throughout, even in primary. But like I've mentioned, the ministry has not come out to say anything about that. But as of now, it is compulsory in Senior 1 and 2. But most likely, sooner or later, it will be officially pronounced that it is compulsory up to Senior 4. I hope I've answered your question. So for now, it is compulsory Senior 1 and 2. Then they choose. But As far as I know, it is supposed to go up. It is now part of the national language. Oh, it is a national language, but we wait for the pronouncement from ministry. So I was talking about the activities. The teacher gives activities, maybe for 5 minutes or 10. The students discuss in their groups as the teacher moves around to see that everyone is participating. And then they get a secretary, share. And then the teacher is also there to moderate or to harmonize what is correct. And so we wouldn't be, or we no longer get surprised when we find the CBC books may even look like rough. I don't want to say rough books, but you can have a point when the teacher harmonizes and yours is not correct, you're free to just cross it and write the correct one. So we have no, you wouldn't expect to get 2-3 books with exactly the same thing, because as you're discussing in your groups, you're not down. Then when you present to the class, the teacher harmonizes and gives any other feedback that may not have come out. So that is the activity-based problem solving. They can have some mini projects, if I could say. They ask you to make something, maybe by the next lesson. We have those projects. We have integration of knowledge, experiences. Okay, this comes at the end of each chapter, where we have what we call an activity of integration. I'll talk about it more. Then the teachers try to move from known to unknown. We have demonstrations. We've had this in the old curriculum. It is being emphasized even here. We don't need to go to the lab. You can bring something and demonstrate in class, or you can even give homework to the students and they demonstrate in the next class. Real life situations. Like I've mentioned, that activity of integration is supposed to link the subject to real life situations. Then development of generic skills, knowledge, understanding, the KUSVA, values and attitudes. Like I said, the teachers have been trained to do that. As they develop those activities, they need to see that either it tasks the child to explore or to analyze something or to explain. So by doing that, they're trying to apply their knowledge, or they're trying to yes, apply the knowledge. If you've got the knowledge, how can you use it? So it is not limited to that, but those are a few of the methods that are used. Then we have school activities after contact hours. Now, I hadn't mentioned earlier, but maybe I think it is coming up, but I can mention it here. Lessons are expected to begin from 8 to 2:30, or if I could say it, one single lesson after lunch. So roughly that is the 2:30. Then from 2:30 to 4:30, we shall see, or we are going to find out what is done during that. So the revised curriculum has been designed to address the academic issue or academic burden and stress of learners. And it has reduced on the content, I mentioned that, which was found to be obsolete, and advanced content, that which is beyond their level or that which is no longer important, was removed. Then removing unnecessary duplications among subjects. You could find, I could use an example of soil. Soil was in geography, it was in biology, and it was in agriculture. I'm not quite sure where it was left now, but those are some of the things. Then removing the numerous assessment programs that had replaced the actual time for teaching and learning, beginning of term, mid-term, end of week, morning test, all those. Too much assessment and less learning. So like I mentioned earlier, if the teachers are to follow the recommendations of the new curriculum, then all these should be removed. The beginning of term, we shall look at assessment later. So the competency-based curriculum puts emphasis on what the learner can do. If you notice, I highlighted that in red. What can the learner do with the knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values acquired? That is the gist of the CBC, what can the learner do? That's why I said, even if the learner studies only one term, maybe one topic from each subject, what can they do with the knowledge they've acquired there? So in order to achieve this, the teacher contact time was reduced from 8 to 2:30 against the current time of 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. and beyond. Actually, some schools in the old curriculum teach even early morning prep, night prep. So if we are to follow the CBC, this is the recommended 8 to 2:30. So the purpose of the after class time is to develop the learner's abilities to become. So what would that help the learners to become? Self-directed learners. We are going to see later how they are being occupied in those hours so that they become self-directed learners, team players, and eventually contributors, innovators, critical thinkers, problem solvers, researchers, and investigators. If you notice, I put ETC and many more good things, not limited to what I've listed here. So how is that to be achieved? We shall find out. So what is to be done after contact hours? The learners will be engaged in productive learning activities aimed at consolidating and furthering what has been done in class. So it is connected to what they do in the morning hours somehow. It is used to consolidate. So these include completion of classwork, which could not be finalized in the available lesson time. Let's kindly mute.
FM mode.
Okay, thank you. So completion of classwork which could not be finalized during the allotted time in the morning hours. Then I've kept mentioning research work. They could use that time for research work. So this depends on the school timetable. They should plan for maybe library time or time they can go to the computer room. They can use that time for group discussions. If you give them maybe a mini project for them to do, they can use that time for that. Remedial and accelerated learning programs for learners who may need them. For those who may not be moving much as they're in groups, their colleagues might be leaving them. So you could organize some remedials during that time. Guidance and counseling services or lessons. It could be used for project work. Maybe I could mention on project work here. Each term, or by the end of the 2 years, let me put it like that. By the end of the 2 years, or by the end of the 4 years, not 2, the learner is expected to have marks from project work. Project work is very key. It contributes 10% to the learner's final score. I'll mention it later. But now this project work, it can take maybe a month to 6 weeks. This is now serious project work. I've been talking of mini projects that can take 2 or 3 days, and you tell them, please, in the next lesson on this day, come up with this, an abacus, for example. That is a mini project. But the other projects that they're supposed to use the knowledge they've had in class to solve some societal problem. That is what these serious projects are about. How can you use the knowledge in class to solve? So they're supposed to identify the problem themselves with the guidance of the teachers, see how they can come up to solve that problem, put down the materials they need. If they can't, ideally, or it is recommended that they use locally available materials so that the project is not so expensive. If there are a few materials that the school may have to buy, well, then they buy, and then the students come up with that. That is project work. Then we have community work, field visits. They could be in geography or any other subject, agriculture. Then in addition to the academic related activities, the time can include opportunities for learners to develop talents through clubs. So we have so many clubs, drama, scouts, young farmers, etc. There are very many. Then that time can also be used for sports, games and sports. There is PE lesson, but this is also games and sports. Those are two different ones. PE is timetabled in the morning hours. Games and sports is also different in the evening. So as you can see, it is looking at a whole learner, not just the knowledge. They can develop their sports skills, football or netball, depending on what the school, the sports that the school, it could be indoor games. So that after contact, that time after the contact hours can be used for all that. So it depends on the timetable. Now, when we get to the assessment, let's look at our old curriculum and fairness in the old assessment. We all went through that, apart from the current 1, 2, 3. The rest of us all went through this old curriculum. So it has been unfair for the last, I think, 100 years. That is when we adapted it. We've survived, but we want our future generation to be better, to be innovators. If you notice, for us, we wait to get what has already been invented by others. And it has taken us 100 years to discover that we need to change the curriculum for us to train our youngsters to be more creative and innovative. So let's look at this picture. For a fair selection, we have quite a number of different animals there. We have a bird, a monkey, an elephant. We have, I think, a pingu. We have fish. I think a dolphin and a dog. If I had the time, I would have asked people to, but I'm trying to beat the time. But now the teacher is there. For a fair selection, everybody has to take the same exam. Please climb that tree. In our own, where we are, as we are looking at this, we can reflect. Can you imagine an elephant to climb that tree? We have fish, which of course, as soon as it gets out of that water where it is, it will definitely not survive. I think we only have the monkey that can ably pass that. Now, that is what we've been doing in the old curriculum. I'm also part of the curriculum since I'm a teacher. So you set the same exam. Of course, people are gifted in different subjects. We could have good scientists, we could have artists. But as I set my math paper, I expect everyone to be good in math or to give me the very best. When they set the agriculture paper, they expect everyone to be very good in agriculture. And especially when it comes to the promotional exam, that is where the unfairness was a lot, because they use average, or we use average. You say if you don't get 60% average, you're not going to senior 3. But someone may have a 90 in arts and maybe a 90 in history, unfortunately with low marks in math and the sciences. And when the average is got, the person has less than 60 and you don't proceed. So we've been making people repeat. You repeat even that subjects you passed 9, because when you repeat, you have to do everything. So that is how unfair our old system has been. People. Okay. Kindly, let's keep ourselves muted. So everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it is stupid. And if you're to take the same animals to an ocean or a river or water, definitely the fish would be the genius and the rest would be stupid. So that's the unfortunate bit about our old curriculum, but we shall not keep crying. They say there's a saying that I've forgotten, but even if we don't sleep at the Malalo after losing someone, we have to move on. So for 100 years, it's unfortunate we've been under the old curriculum, but we have to move on. So how is the assessment done in this curriculum? we have what we call the school-based assessment. That means the assessment is done at school, but it contributes to the 4 years, end of 4 years. And it is categorized into two. We have what we call an activity of integration and project work. So when each of those two contributes 10%. So by the time the current senior threes are the pioneers, by the time they sit their senior 4 next year, they should have some marks out of 20%, such that the end of cycle or the UNEB they will do will contribute 80%. That is why we call them school-based assessment. Now, activity of integration is then, okay, the other one is called the end of cycle assessment. So let me, now, what is it about the activity of integration? It is done at the end of each chapter. Unlike the other activities, now I told you the CBC is activity-based. When we go to class, teachers know that they plan for at least 1 or 2 activities, depending on the duration of the lesson. Those ones the students are allowed to discuss as much as they want. But when it comes to this activity of integration, I could say it is like a test. First of all, it is done at the end of each chapter. I've already mentioned it contributes 10%, but what is the aim? The aim of the activity of integration, like you see the word integration, it integrates the knowledge, skills, and attitudes acquired to solve a societal problem. So the teachers set it in such a way that we call it scenario. They bring something like a problem in the society or in the school, or then they ask the students to use, they may not even ask. I've already told you it is at the end of the chapter so that students know it is at the end of algebra, or it's at the end of linear programming, whatever the topic is. So they already know that they're supposed to use knowledge in that topic. So then they think. That is why we say we want to produce critical thinkers. They have to think, how will I use the other knowledge of LCM? How will I use the other knowledge of machines to solve these people's problem whose borehole maybe has broken down? I'm just giving examples from the subjects I teach. So the activity of integration gears at the student using the knowledge, skills at the KUSVA acquired to solve, to suggest ways. If it is history, I may not give very vivid or very good examples in history, but that is what an activity of integration is all about. And it is a test. This time, it is done individually. It is timed, maybe an hour, at most 1.5 hours. And the teachers will mark. The marking is, maybe I could talk about it here because so the marking, we use scores, we don't use marks. So it is not out of 100, the usual 100 we know. So parents, when you get the reports, expect the maximum you'll expect is a 3. You'll either get a 1, 2, or 3, or you'll either see 1, 2, or 3. Your child will either score a 1, a 2, and a 3. Of course, how we mark that is for the teachers, but I need us to know how to interpret. You will get the student's report and it will have a 1. What would that mean? Or how would you interpret? Now, when we go to teach a topic, we have what we used to call objectives. In the new curriculum, we call them learning outcomes. So if your child gets 1, it means he's at level basic. And what does that mean? That he acquired few learning outcomes. LO means learning outcomes. So the child acquired few learning outcomes, but may not be sufficient for overall achievement. Then what does a 2 mean? It means that that child is moderate in that topic. The beauty about this is it is topic-wise. Unlike the end of term that combines all the topics they've studied, this one is at the end of each topic. So you may find your child may have a 3 in one topic, then a 2 in another one, or maybe a 1 in another. Now it means if they have a 3, it means they accomplished, they acquired either most or all the learning outcomes in that topic. So they are good. This one helps you to, even the teacher, to know that it is this particular topic that may have had challenges and probably give remedials. Unlike the general test, you just give a test and marks. So once you see a 2, it means moderate, some learning outcomes achieved, enough for overall achievement. Then accomplished, most or all the learning outcomes. A child managed to apply the knowledge she acquired in that topic to solve that societal problem. That is what it means, that she got the knowledge, or he got the knowledge, understood it, and was able to apply it. So depending on the levels. So that is the 1, 2, 3. Now in term 1 and 2, we expect the recommendation. Some schools may not be doing it, but the recommendation is term 1 and 2, the students should come back with a report with only activities of integration. And you may find, depending on the length of the topic, you may find math in that term they did 2 topics, and maybe English or another subject they managed to do 3, and in another subject they did only 1. So don't expect 3, 3, 3 or 1, 1, 1 in all the subjects. It depends. But you will see that in topic 1, they got 1 or they got 3. Let me not wish for 1. They got 3. So you will know that the child managed to apply the knowledge to solve a problem. Then that is term 1 and 2. Then, like I mentioned, that report must also have generic skills. It captures the topical activities of integration and generic skills. Those are 2 things that are usually common or should be. So you will know whether your child was cooperating, whether she was a good listener, whether all those generic skills. There are many, we only talked about a few. Then in 3rd term, during the first months, they're still supposed to do activities of integration. And then end of year. Now that one is similar to the end of cycle, what I call the end of cycle. So they practice, if I could say, they practice what they will do at UNEB at the end of the 4 years. Term 1, 2, activities of integration, that is the recommendation only. Term 3, activities of integration for the 1 month or 2, and then end of cycle. So the end of cycle is marked differently. That is for the teachers anyway. For us parents, we just need to know, and that students what to expect. So it contributes 10%. That is why you've seen of recent, they've kept telling us to register with NERA, to register our students or children with NERA. Each child needs the NIN, which will act as the LIN, learner's identification number. So when these results are obtained, they are sent to UNEB, and then it will be entered in against the child's NIN, if I could say that. So please, if you're a parent and you're out there and you're taking time to register your child, you're doing them a disservice. The NIN stroke LIN is becoming very, very quite important. Very, very important. So it will be tagged. That is why, maybe I mention it here as well. If you're to think of transferring your child, you have to be sure that wherever you're taking them, it is the same elective that was done in the school where you're transferring them from. Because they need all these activities of integration, they have to be sent to UNEB, and they'll contribute 10%. UNEB will know what to do, how to use them, but it will only contribute 10. So if you take your child from school X and they were doing agriculture, and you take to school Y and ICT is their option, you're seeing where you're creating problems. Otherwise, even if you took from one school with agriculture and take them to another school doing the same, their NIN will always be their NIN. So even in the new school, when they post the new activities of integration, they'll still go to that NIN. But once you change, there's change in subjects there, I have no answer for you. So think twice before you transfer your children. So this is the range. Usually the report should capture what score the child has got, and then the identifier, what we call the identifier. So if the child was scored and they scored between 0.9 and 1.4, it means the identifier is 1. They fall under basic. If what they scored is between 1.5 and 2.4, then they fall under moderate. If it is from 2.5 up to 3, it means their identifier is 3. I've already explained what those 3 mean. So on the report card, you'll see these marks. So on the report card, you will see those marks. Then the identifier also, and even the meaning, the descriptor, the ones I've been explaining. Usually they put them at least at the end of the report so that you can know. Other things, maybe games and sports may also be captured there. Clubs may also be captured. It depends on the school, but the basic that we'd expect on each report are the activity of integration, the scores, and the generic skills. That one at least should be there, must be there, if I could use the word must. Then others, games, so that it gives a picture of a whole round student. I'm soon finishing. So end of cycle contributes 80%, I've mentioned. The students practice it also at the end of the year. End of senior 1, end of year, they do a mimic of what they'll do in UNEB, if I could use that. End of S2, end of S3, the same. So we expect them to do 3 before they do the 4th one. But that is the recommendation. I don't know what is happening in the different schools, but that is it. So it contributes, it will contribute 80%. And there are some changes in the papers. There are some papers that had 3 papers, paper 1, 2, and 3. But I think apart from art may still have maybe 3. The rest have 2, paper 1 and 2. Even those that had 1, 2, and then a practical, somehow they've been merged. But that is these details are more for the teachers. This is just for you to know, maybe the students also, that they're not exceeding 2 papers, a practical and a theory. I was hoping when I began that I would shift, especially those who are at denial and resistance, that I would shift you to acceptance or commitment. I told you to think about it when you were beginning. I'm asking you to think about yourself now after this enlightenment, if I could say that, and then see where you are. I'm really praying you're either at acceptance or commitment. Thank you for listening and for your participation. Mr. Kazuba, over to you. I'm already seeing hands up.
Thank you, madam.
You're welcome. Yes, Mr. Dola.
Hello, Goretta. I want to say thank you so much for the presentation.
You're welcome.
However, I have just a request. Is it possible to share with us those slides you have presented? Because I was trying to do a screenshot, but still I could not afford. You were first somewhere, somehow I couldn't capture. So I don't know if it's possible to share with us. Maybe the last one is about the foundation of this new curriculum. Is it also done in a primary setting so that our students or learners are prepared for the same kind of curriculum before crossing to the secondary level? Because this is quite good. Actually, I had never taken interest in knowing this, but now I'm very excited. I'm seeing things are going to change. Okay. Yeah, so that is my query. Yes, thank you so much. But if it's possible, then I can punch my email into the chat for the sharing. Thank you.
Okay, probably you could do that. If Mr. Kazuba is here, kindly get me the emails that will be shared there. Thank you. Rogers, Teacher Rogers. Let me take these three, then I'll answer.
Thank you very
I don't know whether it's my network or it's teacher.
much. Thank you, Madam, for the presentation. It has really, my question is, hello, someone. Yeah, my question is to do with the books. So this term is open, senior series are here, and the books which are there are mainly senior and senior 2. So how would you advise the learners and the teachers on how they need these activities for learning?
Okay.
How would they start? Yeah, that is what I would say. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Teacher Rogers. Let me pick from Farida also then.
Thank you so much. I happen to be one of the people supporting some schools in Ruengo and Rakai.
Yes.
But there is a big challenge where, one, there is need to link the curriculum of primary to that of secondary. That is one. Then secondly, the resources seem not to be enough. We need you to organize and throw more light on how to support these teachers on using the locally available resources.
Okay.
And then lastly, I would like to thank you so much, because this information, people are still in denial. Some of us started hearing about this like in 2014, and we are happy that it has come. So we are blessed as Ugandans, but we need to continue spreading the gospel for people to accept, to accept that it has come, and this is the fourth revolution globally, and therefore they need to accept it and actually move forward. Thank you so much. I am Farida.
Okay, thank you so much. Let me begin with Farida. I think your question, the questions for all the three of you are somehow related. Let me begin with the one of the primary. Now, the primary, by the way, has what we call the thematic curriculum. I don't know whether you've ever, I don't know whether it is also the same for your children, but where my children go to school, and it is not a very special school. When the report comes, on top of English, math, literacy, down here, the report has other things. She reads well, then they give either A, B, C, D. He shares with others, then they shade either A, B, C, D. He is clean. So that the curriculum is there. Unfortunately, when they get to P4, P5, then the fever of this exam fever, the PLE fever sets in. So the teachers forget the playing together, sharing together, and they concentrate on how the 4s, how many 5s shall we get, how many 4s. We've been seeing people celebrating in the news since it is almost a week plus, but on news every day. Okay, at least on Buked, you see a new school celebrating, another one celebrating. So people, hopefully, like Farida has mentioned, people are still stuck in the other, how much can they recall to get a 4? But with that 4, actually, let's challenge our children even at home. Yes, you have a 4 in class, but do you have a 4 in other things at home? Do you score a 4 in doing housework? Do you score a 4 in helping out with others? It starts at home. So if we can encourage not just the 4 in school when you can't apply it, can they do some things? Let us give them some liberty to discover. Just the other day, I could give an example. Just the other day, my son got a screwdriver and was opening a toy. I just held myself. I almost shouted at him not to spoil the toy, but then I thought twice. He's discovering. That is where most of us, I think, are going wrong. We want to preserve, but as he opened, and indeed he opened, I kept in the background and wanted to see what he wanted. Hey, so the cells go here. Okay, this one needs the cells. But I almost backed at him to stop. What am I trying to say? The 4s should not stop at the knowledge. We are producing people with very big heads. Yes, it is there in primary, but when they get to P4, the exam fever comes in, the 4s, 5s fever comes in, and it is abandoned. Hopefully with time, when they realize up here we are in secondary, we are more on what they can do, probably, hopefully, that fever will go down. Then when it comes to the resources, true, the 1 and 2 are the books that are there, that were distributed actually. But I think there are some publishers who have already, like Longman, one of the two, I'm forgetting. I think they have books for book 3 and 4. We can start with those as the government thinks of distributing. Secondly, our teachers, I'm hopeful that most of the teachers in most of the schools at least have got some guidance or some training. The recent training that went on, but I think it was, in Wakiso and Kampala only, unfortunately. We've been asked, me inclusive, to use the old books, but to change the way of teaching. By the way, with the new curriculum, the content, apart from the obsolete and the rest, it hasn't changed much. It is the way of teaching that has changed. Like I told you, we have to, the preparation for teachers, it's the preparation that has a lot. We need to prepare. Which activity will I give? What materials will I need? So the teachers have been, so you who are here and maybe your head teachers or like you said, you support schools, encourage them to use the old textbooks, but to try now and create activities, not just going and giving the content, dictating. We at least we've seen, or they've seen what was done in senior 1 and 2. Let them pick a leaf or a branch and try to produce, to come up with those activities that you first give the students to discuss, come up with before we give our final value. But I think if not Longman has printed some book 3 and 4. So maybe if our schools can, even if they get 1 copy for the teacher, that would be good enough. So that's the teacher. Maybe then we can use that copy maybe to photocopy, I don't know, our capacities of the different schools, but that is, I think at least that. Either we get the Longhorn that is already on the market, that one is a good publisher, or both. We get that and we still encourage our teachers to, because the activities in those books are not cast in stone. The teachers can be creative and come up with better ones. For sharing this, Mr. Kaziba, if you're still on the call, kindly get, okay. Kindly get those emails. Mr. Kaziba, are you there? Okay, can I?
He's off.
He's off. Ooh. Okay. Okay, as I pick other questions, let me see whether I can, it's possible for me to share it in the chat. Let me close this and show. Farida, your hand is still up. I don't know whether you still have a question. Any other questions?
Yes, madam.
Yes.
Yes, the other thing which is a bit crucial now, especially for senior 3, is this thing of, you have talked about the projects, and teachers are really trying to see how, but one of the challenges that some teachers are thinking for the learners, they just say, okay, the chemistry teacher, we are going to do a project about liquid soap, and they tell all learners to do that. Or ICT teacher, make a calendar. So I think that's one of the areas that Then also this thing of DIT also. Since we've had the learners are doing exams in November, and some schools got the books of DIT, but they are in the library. They have never even touched them. They are just teaching only using the NCDC syllabus, and they are not looking at the world of work assessment. So, yeah, but I know as we move, the first year might be challenging, but as we move, things will become adopted and move on.
Yes, thank you so much, Rogers. I think since 2019, when it was rolled out, and now we've seen good progress. Now, for those who wanted, I've shared the presentation in the chat. Please pick it from there. Since I thought he would get the emails for me, kindly pick the presentation from the chat. I've shared it there. Now, DIT, yes. Like I mentioned, someone will present on it, but maybe I can throw more highlight. We expect the students in the vocational, pre-vocational subjects like agriculture, food technology, I think food technology and nutrition. I'm forgetting the correct order. Art and technology. We expect someone can be a beekeeper, can do beekeeping, someone can be a cook, someone, very many occupations that they can opt for. And so DIT is there to award them a certificate, at least by end of senior 3, that this one can bake cake, this one can do pottery keeping, but more light will be thrown. So if you are maybe a teacher or a stakeholder somewhere, key stakeholder in a school somewhere, endeavor to find out whether that school has signed up for DIT. There are some fees to be paid, but I think we all want our children to be hands-on, so we need to feel the pain so that we gain at the end. Okay. Yes, the recording will be shared. Any other question? Let me see anything in the chat. Mr. Kaziva, welcome back.
Sorry, there's some. Yes, Madam Goretti, more on the project ideas.
Project. Okay. Thank you. Now for projects, it seems hard, or I can say it might be hard, but from experience, these learners have a lot of ideas. So for us, what we do in our school, each term they get 2 subjects, maybe math and history, only those 2 to give the students projects. So that means by the end of senior 1, by the end of the 3 terms, they'll have done 6 subjects. Then by the end of their senior 2, they'll have done another 6. So they'll have a project in each. So what happens now when it is your turn for the project, when for example, it is time for physics project this term. So what we do, we ask the students we throw it to the students. What problems are you seeing around? And how can you use the knowledge? We don't restrict on the topic, that use only this topic to come up with a project. Actually, a project can be an integration of more than one subject. It can be physics and chemistry, it can be math and physics, but the subject of interest must be taking like 70% of the involvement. So we throw it to them in their groups. Remember, they're in groups. Projects, it can be individual, but it is better in groups. Remember, we are trying to encourage collaboration, encourage listening skills, encourage communicating. So if someone is solo and doing it alone, all those skills will be missed out. And even when it comes to marking, you, the teacher, will have a few, at least not for the 90 students in a class, for example. So you task the group. During project time, get to class, tell them now this time, these 3-5 weeks, we need to do a project in math. Please look around and look for the problem and then come up with maybe a possible solution because they might just have it in thoughts. You can give them that for that day. They brainstorm, come up with topics, they'll argue amongst their groups. Then you look at the topics. And of course, they'll tell you we are going to use maybe bearing to solve that problem. So that now the task of the teacher is to see whether the problem is really a problem and whether the topic they are thinking of using will really solve that problem. I could give an example. Last year, they did a math project in senior one, and there's a group that had identified that there's a problem with which game was that? Rounders. There's a rounders game. So they wanted to, they said even when you look on the internet, there's very little information about that rounders game. So for us, we are going to use our knowledge of bearing to guide anyone who might be interested in coaching or learning that sport. And they went ahead because there's a particular way that field for rounders is supposed to be marked. And there it involves getting bearings that here, this angle should be this, there should be one participant here, another one should be here. So now they were bringing in, it was a combination, sorry. It was a combination of math and physical education, but they beautifully did it. And they put on Manila and they made, if I could say, players out of, I don't remember the material they used, but you could see a pitch, a rounders pitch with guidance that now this angle should be this. And they said, now at least we know we can share this if given chance, so that whoever wants to introduce the game of rounders in their school, they have what to do. So that's just an example. Throw it to them. They have ideas. Their work as teachers is to guide. No, maybe this one cannot do. How about if you use the other topic here? Or actually you can encourage them to come up with more than one. And then from your guidance, they zero on one. It also depends on the materials that are needed. Try to encourage them to use the locally available materials. Because there's a time, I think this was in geography, they identified that some part of the school did not have the drainage. And there was too much soil erosion. They were right. But now the materials to make that drainage, it may be too expensive for the school. That is why it is not there anyway. So our work as teachers usually is to bring them back. So we consider, is the problem solvable? Can we use the locally available material and maybe a few other, the school could, of course the school could, we could have the flip charts or the glue. They could look for the sticks in the compound, the nails. I think that's what I can say about projects.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Any other questions? I think we have about 15 minutes. Let me see what is in the chat here. Please, I've shared the presentation in the chat. Kindly pick it from there. I may not be able to send it to your email because some have already moved up. I didn't copy them. Please pick the presentation from there. Farida, are you back? Oh, okay.
Yes, my question is still on projects.
Yes.
For me, I support teachers. I support teachers in secondary schools and primary schools.
Yes.
And I want to support them to actually come up with projects.
The teachers?
But I want to support them to see that they actually have projects in their respective subjects. But it is really still hard. My understanding of the new lower secondary curriculum, the new one, is that the teachers are supposed to expose the learners to different, can I say, challenges, problems that learners can use to identify so that they can come up with their own projects. But it's still puzzling me. How do I help this teacher to actually help these learners identify the problems within a topic?
That is why I was saying not every topic might be connected to a project. That is why I was saying, please adopt I don't know, Farida, how many projects were you encouraging teachers to have? Each subject, each term? I don't know how.
The schools I suppose haven't understood it, but I am aware that you are supposed to do 2 projects per term in 2 subjects. And each project, I'm also aware that they take at least a maximum of 6 weeks, then the other one also takes 6 weeks.
So now when you identify those, or they identify those subjects for that term, they are not supposed to be limited to a specific topic. If, for example, now, like I said, for us math in my school, senior 1 last year, we had our math in 3rd term, our project in 3rd term. So we did not restrict the students to only the topics we did in 3rd term. We were open, so encourage the teachers to be open. If so far they've covered only 1 topic, maybe the ones who will do in 1st term may be disadvantaged. But if they've covered 5 topics, the learners could use any of the 5 topics or integrate all the 5. So first, let them first give the learners a chance to identify the problems. If it is a day school, they maybe identify problems in their village or their home area. If it is a boarding school, they can still look around and identify, or they can recall, even if they are boarding, they can recall, someone can share in their group. In our village there is this problem, and I think this topic in math could help. So it should not be limited to a topic for that term. That is one they can use, but also before the teachers come up themselves with the problems or solutions, let them give the chance to the students. Those students are brilliant. Throw it to them. What problems have you seen that you can use any of these topics to solve? Let it be open. So like I said, some used the bearing, some used the abacus. By the way, some came up with games that can keep the students busy or learn the children busy instead of them being on the TV that is spoiling. So the ideas are many. Unless the children have really failed to come up with something, that is when now the teacher can, like you said, put a problem. There's this problem, how can we solve it? Otherwise, the problems can be different. Different groups come up with different problems and therefore different solutions. That is the recommendation. If they really fail to get, then the teacher can present a problem or 5 different problems and then tell, okay, now think about, use the knowledge you've had, since all the math knowledge you've had, to come up with this, all the history knowledge you've had to solve this. I hope I've answered your question. Dacio, your hand was, and then Rogers.
Yes, madam.
Thank you, madam.
I just wanted to say something just on that same project. There are some teachers who were asking me that, can learners in the whole class be one group? So you make the entire group to do one project. What is the maximum number of learners?
Okay, thank you. Let me also take Dacio's question, maybe. I think it's also on project. Dacio?
Yes. My request is to give some advice to incoming teachers, those doing school practice, if they are on chat, one of them, aside from all that orientation on the CBC what kind of advice would you give them? Because let's say we are going to a new school, a new environment, we're going to engage with teachers who have been in this system longer than you. What kind of advice do you have for people like that in the chat?
Okay, I had got some interruption here. I don't know whether I picked everything I wanted, but new schools, like I mentioned earlier, I'm not quite sure. I'm not sure whether the school your child will go to.
Teacher trainees.
For teacher training. The NCDC has been training and training and training, but also where we've reached, where either the school invites a trainer or those teachers that were trained earlier. Sorry, those teachers that were trained earlier are advised to train their friends. And more training is still coming up. The training is not over. So when you go to a certain school, since that is where your child has gone, try to embrace what is there. You may have wanted your child to do ICT, and you get to this school and their choice is not ICT. So what do? We have to adjust. Teacher training is ongoing. I think this time in NCDC, I think, has trained head teachers and their deputies. Probably next time, the trainings are many. But there are teachers, I want to believe that each school has teachers that have attended this training somehow. So they should be in position to help. Then projects, the maximum number, I think I need to throw it, I would throw it back to the teachers. I would throw it back to the teachers or to all of us, even as you set up a group, what do you think should be the maximum number of members so that it is effective? Is it 2? Is it 5? Is it 10? I think that gets back to how many.
Hello, Maria.
Yes, please.
Yeah, I would like to respond to that. About the groups, it's just like when you're having a business, because we are training these learners to have something they can do for a job in future. So if you have a job and you want to do partnership with someone, usually when the numbers are very big, they don't work out. So as a teacher, you have to moderate, but just like, our economy and the challenges we have, some schools have really big numbers. You find a teacher is overwhelmed, has a class of senior 2, and the numbers are really big, and maybe also has to handle senior 1, something like that. So as teachers, I think you can somehow group these learners, but me, I would recommend at least a group of 20 maximum or 10, because the bigger the number, the less you achieve as a teacher.
Yes.
That is my opinion.
Thank you very much. Yes, I think I agree with you. It gets back to us how many students we have, but also like you've ably mentioned. And by the way, during those periods of project time, the teachers are expected to be there and see. We're supposed to take down the generic skills. Who is more active? And if you see someone who is not so active, we encourage them to be active. We're supposed to, much as they can also add in other hours, but when it is time for projects, the teachers are expected to get there and guide more. So you even task for you, what is your contribution in your project? What so far have you done? Some will tell you, I collected this material, I came up with this, all that. So 10, 20, I think it should not go beyond 20. Otherwise, for me, the best would be 10 also.
Yeah. Yes, thank you, madam, for that guidance. Actually, I know some schools, I've not actually even started on project work, and now they have to do projects in all the 10 subjects before senior 4. So some of the teachers are getting like big groups, and they do just projects for the sake of clearing. I think NCDC will have to guide more as the way they have guided on assessment, end of year, and all these other areas. Yeah, thank you very much.
Gerald, and then Saddam.
Thank you very much for the presentation and the guidance. I would like to share as follows, that my opinion is that it depends on the nature of the project. The group size depends on the nature of the project. Yes. If there are many activities, then the projects, the group size may be big, as big as 10 or even 15. But if the activities are few, then groups of 3, 4, 5 may be enough. In addition to that, I would like to share with fellow teachers that these projects need to be approached with a project management outlook. What does that mean? We need to break the project into phases and sub-phases. And then we know that for us to move from the beginning up to the output or the outcome, we have to go through the following main steps. Then we allocate resources to each of the steps. One of those resources has to be time. Then we also allocate manpower. We say for this step, 5 people. For the other step, 8 people. I think if it is approached like that, a lot can be achieved. And it means that the teacher has to engage in a detailed conversation with the learners so that we can exhaust all the possibilities and the challenges. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. That is why I said during project time, the teacher needs to be there to guide the learners more. Like you've said that I think this step only 3 are enough. The rest of you could go on to finding the materials. The other people can do this. And yes, I don't have to repeat what you said, but I think I'm in agreement. The project can dictate the number, but also at times, remember the project, we encourage the students to come up with their own projects. So you may have grouped them already in groups of 10, and they come up with a project, which to you, maybe they require only 3 or 4. Try to, each one should get engaged at least at some point, either finding the materials or putting them together or writing a report, because at the end they have to even write a report. Saddam, and then there was someone who had their hand. Okay, Saddam, and then Joseph.
Okay, thank you, madam. Now, my major inquiry is, what if I'm teaching matrices Form 3? Which activity of integration can I come up with to these learners?
Okay, then Joseph. Joseph, let me pick your question as well.
Hello. Yes, thank you very much for that presentation. My concern is about the cost sharing. This project comes with the costs.
Yeah.
You look at some projects which can take like 6 months, 6 weeks. Those projects, I think they need some funding. And most of the schools, they're struggling. And I've heard some schools are saying that even they're making pancakes as their projects. Can that be a project really? If we have to look at projects, maybe we need more sensitization on the projects and how they can be done. Thank you very much.
Okay, let me begin with the one of matrices. Now, math, by the way, is blessed. Most of the questions or section B questions are somehow call for critical thinking. So find a way of tuning. There are so many questions that come there. For example, the football team, this team did this. You just give it a little more. Okay, make the student think harder than they've been thinking. But otherwise, math, I think, is blessed. Most of the section B numbers have been application numbers. because they'll tell you there was a tournament, then this one scored this, then this one scored this, then this one, then this one scored this. So somehow, math, we've been having those questions that call for critical thinking. So you may just tighten a little and call for more critical thinking. I hope I've answered you. Matrices, those very questions we have in section B. You just make them, should I say, a little harder and call for more critical thinking? Probably. Then when we get to the resources, true. That is why when I was talking about projects, I said guide that is why the teachers need to be there and guide them to think of projects that can be solved using the locally available materials. And I gave an example of those ones who had come up with making the drainage. Yes, it's a good idea, but the reason that drainage probably is not made is because the school has no money. So there you guide them back. Please think of another one, unless they can make that drainage using simpler materials. So that is why the teachers are there to guide. Bring them back when their imagination goes off what can be beyond maybe sticks or super glue, manila, maybe tins that they can get in the environment, straws. They should use things that they can easily get. Otherwise, we may fail in the projects. I think that's what I can say. Mr. Kaziva. So those, I'm seeing someone who says they've just joined. If you've just joined, I've shared the PowerPoint again. I've not, there it is, I've shared it. It is still loading. For those who may have missed, we are talking about the CBC. And those people wanted the presentation, which I've shared again. It's already time. It's already 3 minutes past the time that we had scheduled. If there's no other question, I'd probably request for a closing prayer.
Let's say a closing prayer. Yes, let's pray. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this time. It has been a very great discussion. You have guided us from the beginning up to this time. We pray that we keep learning more about the curriculum and keep sharing with our colleagues and the learners also to understand their role and all other stakeholders. Bless us this term as we start so that we can come out with good products and results from this curriculum. Thank you for our facilitator and the organizers for this session. Through Jesus Christ we pray.
And thank you so much, Rogers. You gave us an opening prayer and you've given us a closing. God bless you so much. Have a lovely evening. Please, same time tomorrow. You'll share something, someone else will share something else on DIT. I'm not sure when DIT is, but it will also be on one of the days. Yes, the recording will be shared. And I'm going to stop